us here in the House of Justice. I want to thank all of you that are signed on and watching us online at nationalactionnetwork.net. We always invite you while you're online to tour the website, find out all that's happening across the NAN world on the website. Of course, if you're not a member, we always invite you to become a member. Please plug into the voter brigade. You can get all of that information online, making sure, as the dean said, that we are getting out the vote everywhere all the time until November 3rd. So get all of that information on the website, and of course become a member and give. We're back, brothers and sisters. You're listening to the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally, coming to you live on WLIV 1190 AM in New York, streaming to you across the country on a number of platforms, including Facebook and nationalactionnetwork.net. We're live right here in the House of Justice, 106 West 145th Street. Call somebody. Tell them the action is on the air. Right now, brothers and sisters, get on your feet. Put your hands together for the president and founder of the National Action Network, the Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton. No justice. No justice. No justice. No justice. What do we want? What do we want? What do we want? When do we want it? When do we want it? When do we want it? Fist bump the person next to you. Tell them you love them. National Action Network Ensemble, give them a big hand. Give them a big hand. Certainly we're happy to be with you another Saturday morning for the Saturday Action Rally. For you that are here live in the House of Justice, and for you that are listening live on 1190 WLIB AM in New York, and you that are watching us live stream around the country at nationalactionnetwork.net, and we'll be going momentarily on Impact Television. We welcome you every Saturday to the Saturday Action Rally to give our report on where the action is. Let's give a hand to our presider, Attorney Michael Hardy.
and our musical director, Minister Tyrone Richardson. And certainly we enjoyed that inspirational message from the Reverend Dr. Johnny B. Hill, who is with us from who's the Dean of Divinity School at Shaw University. And as he told some of the history, and I was there last year, I believe, and as he told some of the history, one of my mentors that many of you see every year comes up to our National Action Network convention, Reverend Al Sampson, comes from Shaw. He graduated from Shaw and was part of the founding of SNCC at Shaw that Dr. Hill was talking about. And it was very interesting as I was listening to the program this morning, the broadcast, and I heard our young people, the young people from Huddle talking. Give them another hand. And those that have formed their strategic youth organization. That's what SNCC did. That's how movements have continuity. And we are not, one of the things that I say all the time, Dr. Hill, is that one of the first things, if not the first thing, they did in slavery is break up the family so they could pit sons and daughters against parents. And those of us in the movement that get into these generational fights are dealing with a slave master's mentality. Because as long as you can keep the youth and the elders fighting, the family never comes together, and you become whatever the slave master tells you to become. And I was so glad to see these young people together working. Then our National Youth and College Director, Minister Talik McMillan, speaking this morning. Because it's about fighting as a family. And these young brothers had an idea about doing something on George Floyd's birthday, which was this week, the 14th, and brought it in Huddle. Huddle just came and partnered and made it happen. And what was amazing is they did it in front of the Barclays Center, where a lot of young folk go there to play ball. They went there to change the game and remind people about George Floyd. Give them young folk a big hand. Give them a big hand. And then I was moved when they talked about the fact that they were happy that the family of Eric Garner, Gwen Carr, who's with us this morning, and family Sean Bell came, because we cannot forget the victims. And we can't love our people and don't even like the folk we dealing with. Let us welcome Impact Television family all over the world. So I wanted our young folk in the Huddle and Youth Huddle and Minister McMillan and Ashley and all them, and those brothers that came and worked in partnership, to know how important that was. When Ashley told me about it, and I said, that's great, and y'all have a great thing. She said, are you coming? I said, no, because if I come, the media gonna make it an Al Sharpton thing. We want the young folk out there. This is not about me. This is about y'all. I show up when I need to show up, but sometimes you can show up and overwhelm everybody else. We need these young leaders to have their space. If you got to show up at everything, you end up being nothing to nobody. Hello. Let me also encourage you, as our crisis director said, and Dr. Hill mentioned about going on all over the nation. Y'all, a lot of y'all that are old keep talking about November 3rd. You can vote most places before November 3rd. Y'all talking about, lady said to me the other day, I hope the weather is good on November 3rd. You ain't got to wait till November 3rd. In New York, early voting starts on the 24th of October. New York, October 24th. And I look out there, the head of the Harlem Chamber of Commerce, Lloyd Williams, is here. We fought to get early voting in New York. Early voting didn't start but right now. And I know that some of y'all that are a little older, you know, Attorney Hardy and them getting their goulashes together and raincoat just in case. But Attorney Hardy, you can vote on the 24th now. It might be sunshine. But when I see the lines in North Carolina and Georgia and Texas, we have the potential of doing a whole nother thing if we don't get in our way. And don't let the polls fool you. People call my radio show every day talking about, yeah, we winning in the polls. We was winning in the polls with Hillary. That's right. And let me tell you something, all this other talk, there are those that will give you contrary information. There is a report out where they're trying to do all they can to discourage blacks from voting because we are the decisive vote. You do not vote for a candidate, you vote for your conditions, and then the candidate that will best deal with your conditions. Whether you voting for Biden or not, you deal with your conditions. And if you think Biden is the best for your conditions, then that's who you vote for. If you think Trump's the best, that's what you vote for. You may like unemployment. You may like being in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, some of y'all face masks may turn you on. You may like that. But all of this about Biden ain't exciting me. Your conditions ought to excite you. Your situation ought to excite you. 215,000 people dead from COVID-19. That a president was told in January that this was going to be a pandemic. And he's got out all of February telling people it would go away. A man that has stood up every chance he could and embraced racists and bigots. So if you can't take, let me tell you all this stuff about, well, you know, the lines are long. One of the reasons why I like to talk about our history is that we need to understand that the little inconvenience you and I may go through now is not even comparable to what people went through to get us in this position. I remember 1994. Chairman of our board, first chairman of the National Action Network's board was Y.T. Walker, who was Dr. King's executive director. Pastor Kanan here chaired our board, and he had me go with him to South Africa for the first free elections in South Africa. And I went, we were there in Johannesburg, and I had met and talked a few times with Mandela. And here was the election. Now in South Africa, they don't vote on the person, they vote on the party. And the ballot, you vote for ANC or PAC or whatever party you wanted. And I remember that morning, the first morning, it was 3 days of voting. people were lined up for miles. I ain't talking about what y'all seen on TV now, for miles. Because it was the first time they could vote in the history of South Africa. And I remember there was an old lady online, and all the world press was there, and they asked the old lady how old she was. She said she was 102. And they said, well, you're way at the end of the line, you may not vote till tomorrow. She said, Mandela can do 27 years, I can do 1 day. All of you cuddle pampered Negroes need to get real and understand the price that was paid to even get you the right to vote, and the price paid to keep you having the right to vote. And then the cynics. Well, I don't think voting do nothing. Let me tell you something. If voting didn't do anything, they would not be spending all this money to try to stop you from voting. A thief got more sense than you do. Why you say that, Reverend? A thief don't go and break in your house and take nothing that's not of value. A thief got enough sense to know something of value. So you ought to have enough sense to know if they're trying to stop me from it, it must be something of value, because they wouldn't be stopping me if it didn't mean nothing. Let me tell you this. We watched this week. They did the Senate Judiciary Committee hearings on this Judge Barrett that Trump has nominated to the court. Now, first thing is, it explains and exposes the hypocrisy of the Republicans who said in 2016 that we should not have a Supreme Court confirmation process in an election year. That was the year that Scalia died on February 14th, on Valentine's Day. And Obama had nominated Justice Garland. And they stopped the process, wouldn't even give a hearing. You watch hearings this week, they wouldn't even give Garland a hearing. Saying, no, the election is going to be in 10 months. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg died in September. People were already voting, early voting. And they went ahead and rammed through Barrett. So one, you talking about hypocrisy. Y'all watching me in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, your senator, the head of the Senate Judiciary Committee, got together with Mitch McConnell and rammed this through for Donald Trump. Now, as you sat and watched this, and I'm going to deal with it tonight on Politics Nation and tomorrow, as you sat and watched this woman didn't know nothing about nothing. Do you believe in climate change? Well, that's controversial. Anything is controversial if you say it's controversial. Remal, are you standing up or sitting down? Well, that's controversial. Some people I'm standing up, some people I'm sitting. I mean, there's all kind of evasive stuff. But the reason that this is dangerous is that if they stack the court 6-3, conservative to those that are more moderate to liberal, they have on the calendar this session. I ain't talking about by and by when the morning comes. I'm talking about this session. They have hearings on affordable health care, on voting rights, on affirmative action, and on women's right to choose. This session. Now, if they've got that majority, even if Judge Roberts decides to go along this again with health care, they still got 5-4 to revoke it. How did they get in that position? Because some of y'all ran around in 16 talking about voting don't mean nothing. And that's how Trump got in, and that's how the Senate got in, and whatever happens, and there's going to be some damage. I want you to go to those folk you know that say voting didn't matter and say it's your fault. Your fault. We need to have a It's Your Fault committee in National Action Network. Your fault. You did it. And now we got to vote ourselves out of the mess you helped put us in. But thank God we're going to do it. Let me say that I was happy to hear that one of the things that I love about what we're dealing with in our movement is you got to be able to monitor movements. Yesterday was the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March. And one of our young staffers sent me a clip of my speech at the Million Man March and said that 25 years ago, I was talking about enlightened black men voting to turn the election on 96. 25 years later, I'm talking the same thing. If you're consistent, that's one of the things I tell Talik McMillan, a lot of our young folk coming up, y'all are coming up at a time where you got to be consistent because everything you do, there's a record of. You know, when Hardington was coming along, there wasn't no tape recorders in there. So they could say anything. And nobody know nothing about it. Now you got, everybody's a reporter. You talk to somebody, they stand there with their smartphone, smarter than you, taping everything you say. Next thing you know, it'd be done put up on somebody's site. And one of the things that you can do is gauge. We started 6 years ago, right here in this hall, fighting with the family and for the family of Eric Garner. And Gwen is still here. And one of the things we did is not only show outrage, first marches started here and all of that, is that we wanted legislation to also accompany demonstration. All right. We proposed then, 6 years ago, the Eric Garner chokehold bill. Y'all with me so far? Yeah. Could not get it through. But we kept marching. 6 years later, in the middle of the George Floyd movement, where the first one of a family externally from the Floyd family to go to Minneapolis was Miss Carr with me. The governor of New York and the speaker, led by the speaker Carl Hastings, and the majority leader of the Senate. Don't forget, if it had not been for the speaker and the majority leader, our sister, Cousins Stewart, Andrea Cousins Stewart, they rushed through a state chokehold bill, Eric Garner bill. And it is now law in the state of New York because we never stopped fighting. That is why when we put the 200,000 people down in Washington 6 weeks ago, and said that we want the national law, George Floyd Policing and Justice Act, and the John Lewis Voting Act. We are not just folk that get mad to be mad. Some of y'all just like to have a fit. There's a difference between a fit and a movement. Somebody gets shot, you go outside and have a fit, like the folk in power care about you having a fit. They will time you, say, oh, they'll do that 2 or 3 weeks and it'll be all over. But then some of us stay on it until the law changes. If you're not changing the law, and changing those in power, you don't have a movement.
Right.
Give you an example. In 1963, people talk about, well, you know, ain't nothing changed. That's because you ain't been part of the change. In 1963, when they had the March on Washington, where Dr. King made his I Have a Dream speech, there was only one black elected official in the whole South. Leroy Johnson in Georgia. The same Leroy Johnson that got the license for Muhammad Ali to come back in the ring after 3 years. That's 1963. 65, they got the Voting Rights Act. Today, you have all over the South, black mayors, black congressmen. You have a black that may win the U.S. Senate in Mississippi, in South Carolina, and in Georgia. Don't tell me nothing changed. But if you allow those that you're fighting to grade your fight, they will always tell you it ain't worth fighting because they don't want you fighting them. We've changed a lot of things, which gives us the strength to keep on changing things because we're not halfway where we're going, but we've done enough to know if we stay together, we can finish the trip. We must be as committed to understanding our journey as they are to theirs. I always tell our young folks this, Talik, that who you study and what you study also is who and what you are. I went out the other night, spent a couple of hours talking to Reverend Stephen Carter, young, great pastor out of Brooklyn, and talking about great preachers that we grew up admiring. I'm much older than him. I'm still younger than Hardy, but I'm much older than Carter. And I was saying based on my conversation with Dr. Carter, when Donald Trump was elected, I want y'all to get this. Donald Trump put in the Oval Office a picture saying, "This is the president I admire and reflected my views and who I am, President Andrew Jackson." Jackson's picture wasn't in the Oval Office. Trump hung Jackson's picture up in the Oval Office. And he kept Dr. King's bust there that President Obama put, but he put Churchill's bust next to him. Now Churchill, because Zimby Bat's in the house, was the one that defeated the forces in Germany, the Nazis, with Roosevelt and Stalin in World War II, but he was also one of the great imperialists and colonizers of Africa and India. So that's the symbol of Trump's foreign policy. But Andrew Jackson nominated to the Supreme Court a man called Judge Roger Taney. Roger Taney was the judge that led the decision called the Dred Scott decision, that there was no rights a black had that anyone was bound to respect. So as Trump sits in the Oval Office, looking up at Andrew Jackson, who nominated Taney, it is in that spirit he nominates people like we're seeing nominated today. He is looking up to what he feels is his lineage politically. And you can't run around here and not look up to your lineage. Rather than disconnect yourself,
My Lord.
you must be connected to your history. I tell some guys out there, some of the white progressives, I read about my book, these latte liberals that don't know what's going on the ground. They sit up in these ivory towers talking all smart, using these $18 words and you think they mean that they smart, and they know you don't know what they're saying. They be misusing the words. But they know how to just talk out the side of their mouth, moderate their voice, and you say that's brilliant. It's nonsense half the time. But I was telling them that you got to understand that this is not new what we're seeing. Don't let nobody tell you about your movement. Well, you know, this is different. The young people doing this and the old people doing this. That always was the case. When they started the sit-ins on the lunch counters, that was done by young people, organic movement. That wasn't started by traditional organizations. NAACP, Urban League, and them didn't do the lunch counter sit-ins. Students did that. Freedom Riders, students did that. When they went to lunch counter, it was students out of A&T where he went. They did the lunch counter. Nobody said that from an organization. They did that at the same time the NAACP was fighting in the court. At the same time that King was with SCLC. And then they fought to Nashville and the Shaw and formed SNCC. Yes, sir. They had enough sense 55 years ago to have the young and the old work together. Now you don't let some latte liberals tell you that you doing something different because they know your history better than you do. When they went to Washington in '63, April Randolph called a march. That King didn't call that march. Randolph called the march. Randolph was 72 years old. But young and old came. In '95, Million Man March. Mr. Farrakhan called that march. He was 63. When did you get this generation fight? When some latte liberals came in and told you that. Y'all need to read my book. Because if they can separate you, those that define you can therefore confine you. If you let them set the premise, you're going to get to their conclusion. If I say 4 + 2 + 3 is 13, I'm wrong because I started with the wrong premise. Don't let them set the premise. Because if they start with the wrong premise, you get to the wrong conclusion. Old black folk didn't kill George Floyd. And young black folk didn't cause police corruption. So let's stop this internal fight and fight the folk that is against all of us. And then all of this mess that we do about, well, oh, you know, this whole thing. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you how much the moral compass of this country is off. If Donald Trump is reelected, he will be the first president that was impeached to be reelected. Think about that now. Y'all listen to Barbershop, come from under the drill a minute. I want you to hear it. When they impeached Clinton, it was in his last term. If you re-elect a man that the House impeached, Senate wouldn't convict, but he impeached, you are normalizing impeachment and corruption in the White House. Then on top of that, he is being courted and clothed and given the emblem of a legitimacy by some of the evangelical leaders that preach so much holiness but excuse him. Now let me get this right. I need some help on this. Dr. Hill, because I didn't go to Shaw, so you can help me out. You might be able to figure this out better than me. You can give Trump a pass that we've seen on tape, talking about grabbing women's privates. But you want to legislate whether a woman has a right to choose her behavior or not if she's pregnant. So you're going to be moral, your interpretation of moral, about women's rights, but you put this kind of open person in the White House and tell them to make decisions for the world. You are a liar and a hypocrite. Just like I remember when I came out several years ago and said, well, whether we agree with people's life or not, they have the right to live their life. Whether they gay or straight. Some of my preacher friends call me, Reverend, you can't do that, you can't say that. I said it. If God give you a choice, you go to heaven or hell. Ain't no way in the Bible say you had to go to heaven. Your job is to preach. Your job is not to make laws where somebody's forced to leave your way. One bishop called me, I just can't go with you on this gay rights thing. I said, well, let me tell you where you need to go. He said, well, no, don't tell me. I said, no, you need to go upstairs in your house and talk to your son, because there's a discussion y'all been needing to have. Don't act like y'all don't know nothing about gay folk. First gay folk I met in the church. You turn up your nose like you don't know nothing about who's gay. If you don't want gay folk in the church, then stand up on Sunday on the virtual service and say, every gay person that ever paid tithes in here, I'm refunding your money. We need to not let them separate us on stuff that don't matter. This is as serious as it gets. I'm going to lay on this vote thing every week because we are at a place that we cannot blow it. And let me tell you something. If we do, then we are the ones that will be the ones suffering. Right now, they're talking about their upticks in COVID-19 in various states around the country right now. This whole COVID thing ain't over. And we are having super spreaders, as they call it. But if we put the right people in with the right plan, we can turn this around. That is also why I tell you that you got to have spiritual power. There is a reason why much of our leadership in Black America came from a faith-based leadership. Reverend Martin Luther King, Reverend Adam Clayton Powell, Minister Malcolm X. Because you got to be able to fight the powers that be because you believe in a stronger power. If you believe the power at the White House and the City Hall is the end-all power, you're going to be afraid to fight. But if you know there is a power stronger than them that will back you up and stand you up and give you strength. There is another power. Well, what do you read that gives you the strength? I do these Instagram morning thoughts every morning. And people say to me, well, what do you read that inspires you? Well, I read a lot of stuff. I've always been a voracious reader.
All right.
But one of the things that I do, Dr. Hill, that inspires me is I also get up early and think about my own life. Nothing will inspire you more than to think about things you went through and know that only God could have brought you through. I ain't talking about things that we know about.
My Lord.
I'm not talking about things that your friends and you have gossiped about. I'm talking about things you wouldn't admit to nobody. Things you wouldn't tell nobody. Things you thought you'd never get out of. Things where you thought it was all over. And somehow, some way, God made a way anyhow. When I think about how close I was to it all caving in, and God picked me up and snatched me out of the fire, I don't need to read no story. I am a story. I saw a friend of mine that went to junior high school with me. And he said to me, Reverend Al, he said, I'm proud of you. I said, thank you. He said, I ain't seen you since we were in junior high school. He's worked for the city, got him pension, got him a little house and all that. He did what he did, I did what I did. He said, I knew when you were in school, you were a boy preacher, and I knew you wanted to be all of this, but I never knew you'd go to be what you wanted to be because, you know, you lived right there on Lennox Road and your mom was on welfare and domestic work and all of that. I said, well, you know, let me tell you something about nature. God uses things at one level to grow into being what you can't see. Just because you see me at one state doesn't mean that that's all God got for me. You saw me when I was a caterpillar, but if you hung around and watched the caterpillar nurture, you will soon see my wings sprout out and watch me become a butterfly. You just caught me before I grew my wings, but I got my wings now. Don't look for me crawling on the ground. I started as a caterpillar, but God made me a butterfly. Some of y'all let folks stop you at your caterpillar level. Don't let nobody stop you there. You hang out with others crawling around. Everybody crawling ain't a caterpillar. Some of them was roaches. Caterpillars shouldn't hang out with roaches, because a roach ain't never gonna get up off the ground. But a caterpillar's just waiting to grow. A caterpillar keeps focused and keep nature and keep growing because they know I got some wings somewhere. A caterpillar don't be listening to calling them songs and listening to that music. They call themselves a hoe and a bee and a nigger. Caterpillar hums to themselves, I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. I think about it every night and day. I'm going to spread my wings. I'm going to fly away. Caterpillars forced to sit in the back of the bus, but they singing in the back, we shall overcome. Caterpillars get beat on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, trying to get the right to vote, but they sing, ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm not no roach, I'm a caterpillar. And watch me in November, I'm gonna spread my wings. I wrote about it in Rise Up. Donald Trump called me not long after he was elected. Tried to get me to go to Mar-a-Lago, meet with him. I wouldn't go. I said that I'm not going for the photo op. I knew him from when he took out those ads on Central Park 5. I watched one day Corey Weiss's mama came to the House of Justice when we were in Madison. Told me that her boy didn't do that. They forced their confession. And I went down to court and stood up for those boys. There were several activist groups, but most of the city was against those boys. I'm talking about black folks. Told me, why you gonna stand up for those boys? They didn't do right, they confessed, they raped that white woman, but somewhere in my caterpillar spirit, I believed his mom. Donald Trump, who never stood up and said one word about Michael Griffin getting killed in Howard Beach. Never opened his mouth when Yusuf Hawkins was killed for being black in Bensonhurst. But he wrote checks to call for the execution of these 5 young black boys and men. But we fought for them. And as fate would have it, Kerry did 13 years in jail. And a man in jail told his jailmate that he did it. And the DNA proved they was right. I want on the day that they inaugurate the new president, I want Kerry Weiss, who's here this morning, to go with me to Washington as we watch Trump go out and a new president comes up. Kerry Weiss, who's here every Saturday morning when he got out of jail, couldn't get him a job. Who gonna give you a job? You've been in jail 13 years for a rape you didn't do. He worked here for 3 years. Got his settlement with his other $4 million, but he here every Saturday, marching for other folks. Because if you're faithful over a few things, God will make you ruler over many things. I know it must have been hard, 13 years for him to sit in that jail and know he didn't do anything. But somehow I remember, growing up in Washington Temple, Emily Brand used to sing, weeping may endure for a night, But if you hold on, if you don't give up, if you don't give out, joy coming in the morning. That's why it's been a hard 4 years watching Trump mess all over us. But I'm going to hold out. Because David wrote in the 37th Psalm, fret not thyself because of evildoers. Neither be thy envious against the workers of iniquity, because they shall soon. It ain't going but about 3 more weeks to election day. They shall soon be cut down and wither as the grass. The wicked don't last for long, but there is a God that'll hold you up. If you just put your hand in God's hand, God is still on the throne. That's why I like that song. I want to do it one more time. John P. Key made, I have decided to take a stand. I'm proud of the young folk talk today that went out there the other day with George Floyd's funeral. I want them to know as I'm an older man now, I decided to take a stand. It wasn't popular. My friend said, you need to shut that up. You better get you a job. You get a pension in 40 years. But I decided to take a stand. Y'all sing that song for me.
Listen, see, I've decided to take a stand, not knowing I would lose my best friend. I'd rather live right than in hell. Lift up mine eyes. All of God's children, they stand. Tell somebody, say you stand. Just stand for holiness. For holiness. Righteousness. And be counted among the righteous. You stand when friends are lost. Stand when you're all alone. And believe yourself to see. I decided to take a stand. Now I believe that I do some of my friends. But I'd rather live right than in hell. Lift up my night. All of my confess. Oh, stand. Everybody stand. Stand for holiness. Stand for holiness. Stand for righteousness. And be counted among the blameless. When friends are lost, when you're all alone, and believe you shall receive His own. Oh, stand for holiness. Stand for righteousness. And be counted among the blameless. When you're all alone, and believe you shall receive. Oh, stand for holiness. Stand for righteousness. And be counted among the blameless. Oh, stand when you're all alone, and believe you shall receive. Just stand. Everybody say stand. Oh, stand. Everybody keep on. You stand. You stand.
Let the church sing. Everybody sing it. someone here that is in the House of Justice that decided today it is your time to take a stand with us and become a member of the organization. You may hear us on the radio, see things on the television, but you need to be a part of one of our committees. You need to help us as we try to keep this movement going. If you're not a member and want to become one today, just come down either the aisles to me and let us sign you up to the National Action Network. If you're listening to us in these closing minutes on WLIB, you can call right now, 1-877-626-4651 and join on the phone, 1-877-626-4651 and become a member on the phone. Come on, everybody singing. Everybody now. Everybody